Maybe so. Maybe so.
There we go. Huh? I think perhaps my mic was a little bit low.
Maybe so. Mm.
There we go. Huh?
So, what do we want to discuss first?
A very good question.
So, Mandy, you're gone.
Yes. Mandy, hello.
I'm here.
Hey, welcome back. So again, if you didn't hear that, if you didn't hear me, my mic was a little bit low. We are discussing today a Little Witch Academia Season 1. That's the show for this week. Next week, we're going to be talking about Little Witch Academia Season 2. It has been an interesting journey. So if you want to talk about that, here we are. Mandy's on the right nose below me, and I'm Jake.
Shall we begin?
Yes,
by
I think we should.
discussing the most standard of things to begin with.
Oh, yes.
The intro.
The intro.
Oh, bit my tongue.
What did you think?
The intro. I think that the intro has an objective, which is better than most intros, right?
Mm-hmm.
Season 1 intro, it has an objective. It tells a story. It follows like a line. And I think that it is mediocre at best.
That's totally fair.
I agree with that.
I would tend to agree with that.
I think it tries to be hopeful and cute, but I feel like it's lacking.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what one of the things that keeps it from being hopeful and cute is? The fact that the protagonist is riding a broom. She can't ride a broom. It's disjointed. It doesn't make sense. It's inconsistent with the story.
I agree with that.
She never rides a broom like that.
At least not in the first season that we've seen.
Yes.
We saw the whole first season, so we don't know about the second season yet.
Don't know about the second season. So today we're going to be discussing just the first season. We only watched the first season. Mandy has seen the 2 OVAs. There's 2 of them, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so she has seen those. Noah and I have not seen those. Or I haven't seen those. Have you seen those?
I probably saw them a long time ago.
Probably at some point.
I'm gonna keep those out of this.
Yeah, and that's good because
I approve of that.
There is some interesting stuff happening in the first season. We think I think our general consensus is hopeful for the future, but there were a lot of problems with the first season. So going back to the intro, it was passable, I guess. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's better than average because it has an objective and a goal and a clear order of things that it's following. We can see what they're trying to do. They just don't do any more than is absolutely necessary at any point in it. It's just kind of blah blah.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
If you want to know how I feel on it, just look up the noise that buffaloes make when they stick their tongue out. That is my blah.
Good. Yeah, I will. I'll file that away. Yeah, the intro, it was passable. It was all right. I think on some positive notes early on, I think the artwork was pretty good. I enjoyed the artwork. I think that from an artistic standpoint, the color palette was relatively well constructed.
I agree.
I would like to say, in regards to the artwork and the color palette, there are some detail objects, like, for example, the cards that the protagonist has, that are really detailed and beautiful and well drawn and interesting. They're like Magic the Gathering cards. Some people only play Magic the Gathering, only buy the cards because they like the artwork. Because the artwork's really good. Little Witch Academia has some cards that are like Magic the Gathering cards, and
I'm on board with that. There's definitely, I think, 5 or 6 times that I remember where they had some random character had a card from, I don't know, probably some collectible card thing, and they're really good. They look really nice.
The
great
detail
artwork.
is amazing.
I'd buy those. Yeah. Also, there's a poster I think that the protagonist has on her wall that I thought was pretty good. There's some little details. Overall, the art was
I would say the environments are the next best thing after the detail objects. Right. The environments are pretty solid. Admittedly, multiple times in the show. They take objects that are not drawn in the environmental art style and just put
Mhm.
them down in the environment, and it's like that is clearly inconsistent with
Right.
the entire rest of the background, and that's a little awkward. Then I would say the protagonist is very, very well animated. She has a
Yeah.
wide range of expression. She has a lot of gestures and movements she can do. And she is sufficiently well animated and well done that all the other characters who are just like bog standard dull animation with a very finite range of expression feel kind of dull next to her.
Right.
But
Or
it, not in a way that makes her like pop out, but
yeah, I
Yeah.
in a
agree.
way that kind of muddies it, I felt.
Yeah, I agree. I think they put too much effort on animating the protagonist. She looks great. It's just that
Yeah.
it's obvious that the other characters are dull because she
Yeah.
looks good.
Yeah, no, that's fair, and I think part of that is some of the other characters have kind of their own like character shtick. They have their own theme. There's the dark gothy one, and she has her hair covering one of her eyes, and her she has kind of this half eyelid shut kind of look on her other eye, and that's kind of how she looks, and so she's not super expressive because she's always kind of looking like that. The other character with her glasses, she makes expressions, but she has big glasses that make her eyes look big, and that's how she looks.
I will say the characters are very kind of like they're cliches, right? They're kind of like cliches, stereotypes,
Yeah.
these like tropes,
Mhm.
kind of. A lot of characters are very like one note, like okay, this is the character who is like a witch and she's kind of evil because witches are evil and she likes poison because poison and
Mhm.
she likes mushrooms and like they do like one thing for the character design and that can be fine,
Yeah.
but it like for that to work they need to develop the character past that point, like up a few levels, and I don't feel they get through any character development in the first 9 episodes.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think you can be expressive with those kinds of character designs. It just takes more work. And they're on a budget. They have to prioritize whatever they want to, and they decided to prioritize the main protagonists. I think Akko was her name.
Yeah.
They prioritized her facial expressions and expressiveness, and at the detriment of the other characters, and possibly just the show in general. But that's just kind of that is what it is. If you disagree, that's fine. I thought that the other characters weren't terribly expressive, and then Akko was more expressive, and that maybe it was a weird contrast.
Well, I think this I think what they were trying to do is they were trying to push the cuteness of the protagonist
Yeah.
hard as they could in the show, because I think that they wanted to appeal to a certain audience and they were like, okay, cuteness is the thing. Cuteness will make us successful. Let us make the protagonist as cute as possible. That will make this a good show.
No, that is absolutely something that they did a whole bunch. Is just like do things that are cute. Oh, look, now the protagonist is a bunny.
She literally, in the very first episode, when she couldn't get to the school, leans around the corner, makes puppy dog eyes, makes a puppy whining sound. They probably found a puppy and got it to beg for food and recorded that sound to use it for her character in that scene, rather than like taking the initiative and trying to fix anything, because they were like, what if she were adorable instead?
Yeah, no, I agree, and I actually have something else to say about that little puppy noise that she made. But Mandy, do you have any thoughts on that? This whole thing we're talking about with the characters, cuteness, lack of animation, too much animation.
The development I felt like was very it was cute, but it was very slapstick humor. I didn't feel like it had a lot of depth to it.
And I think that a big part of the reason I agree with you on this is because I think in order to have depth to like to humor like this is you need to have the characters developed, right?
Right.
Character humor requires characters to be like well enough developed that we can be like, oh my gosh, that's totally what that character would do.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, that's the essence of character humor. That's exactly what that character would do.
Yeah.
But Mandy, do you think that I mean, how with respect to the characters and their kind of lack of development, I mean, what do
Some
you?
things I really liked how do we call her, Diana,
Diana.
the antagonist,
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
The
She
antagonist, right?
Right. I felt like her character development was more thought about. She felt more
Yeah, she.
filled out.
I think that she was a stronger character because
I feel.
she clearly had her priorities in order.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she absolutely did, and that so okay, so a thing that a thing that I think is one of the big problems with the season one, and now it doesn't go until the end of the season because I think we decided it went till about episode 9.
Yeah.
One of I would say one of the major problems with the series is that none of the characters have a specific driving motivation that they go after. So the main character, Akko, again, if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. But the main character, she wants to. I think it's fair to say she wants to be like Sparkle or Shining or Shiny. What's her?
Shiny Chariot.
Shiny Chariot. She wants to be like that character. Now that's not pushed very hard. We just kind of know because she has said it a couple times. But she never goes after it. The show has an incredibly strong case of passive protagonist. She says she wants to do that, but she at no point ever in the first 9 or so episodes takes any real initiative to go after the thing that she wants. Like even in the first episode, this is getting back to the thing you were saying with her whimpering to the character, and it's cute or whatever. So when she's trying to get to the school because she wants to be like Shining Chariot or whatever, she literally will not even ask for a ride to get to the school because that is her goal, is to be like this character. She sits there and whimpers until one of the characters says, "Do you want to ride to the school?" At no point in the series, for the first 9 episodes again, is she ever like going after it. Like her drive to be that, her drive to, what she wants never influences her actions. She drops into the first episode, things are thrown at her, she reacts to those things, she ends up at the school where things happen to her, and then she reacts to those things. And that continues for the first 9 episodes. And that is just, I think, one of the biggest problems in the story is we have a almost completely passive protagonist for the first, 3/4 of the series. Mandy, you look like you really, really want to say something.
I do. I wanted to say, it seems like they almost were trying to set up, an underdog story. And then it turned into it was begging instead of it was annoying. So I felt
agree.
like we went off the deep end with that. Go ahead.
They absolutely had this thing set up, right, where they're like, okay, the main character is going to be the underdog. She's not from which family. Everyone else is from which families, so she's the underdog, and she's gonna have to fight her way up. The problem is, over the first 9 episodes, she does not fight her way up. The only times we see her use magic in those episodes is when she's either succeeding spectacularly due to circumstances we don't fully understand, or failing spectacularly. And oftentimes when she's failing, I would say that none of the times she succeeds are a result of her hard work. And every time she fails, it's a result of her hard work. As if the message is, don't try hard because you'll fail. If you don't try, then eventually random happenstance will cause you to succeed. Or someone else, like Diana Cavendish, the pseudo-antagonist, will save the day, as she often does.
And I feel like that with that, I felt like that up until about the 9th 10th episode.
Mm-hmm.
After that, it felt like it actually turned into something more, and I really liked that. So, I mean, I felt like there was a greater shift.
Yeah, no, I think that's something. So we all watched the first season together. It was, right up to about the 10th episode is the Bumblebee episode where the Cupid bee stings people and tries to make everybody fall in love with each other. And that is an interesting idea for an episode. It's a kind of a classic TV show episode in that it's interesting because you understand the characters and the relationships between the characters are changing in ways that are weird. Go ahead, Noah.
I agree, and I think that we should just elide the question of morality involved in murdering a possibly sapient bee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, wow, dang. It seems like it's mischievous, but it still understands that it exists.
We'll just gloss over that.
Yeah, a little bit of a chaos bee, but so I think this was the thing we all thought after the 10th episode, and because there were 13 episodes in the first season, is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
So the last 4 episodes got really interesting, and we were all sitting there all the way up to the 9th episode going, God, this is just frustrating, and nobody's doing anything, because we also when the main character doesn't have a motivation, they're not going after it, then nobody else, regardless of what an antagonist or an antagonistic force might have, their motivations, they're not going to come into conflict with the main character because the main character is not moving towards their goal. So it just makes it very flat, and the only things that happen are these weird random events. So after episode 9 and episode 10, suddenly the protagonist realizes, or starts going after her goal more. We also get a little bit more information on what, like, the shiny rod that she has, her fancy wand that she just happens to stumble across in the first episode by no merit of her own.
All of her other successes.
Like all of the other successes that she ends up with. But we learn more about it, and that gives us a thing that she's working for. We learn that she's learning in some kind of vaguely metaphorical sense of finding the words to this wand to the spell that she does. So she found the first word in the first episode. That would have been great information to have, because I didn't get that. I don't think any of us understood that there were other spell words that she needed to understand in order to use this.
Not until later.
Yeah, not until later. So it gives us like a thing that we're waiting for. We're waiting for that. No, we weren't waiting for that the first 10 episodes, because we didn't know that was a thing.
The entire magic system is so soft and unexplained that we really never have any way of knowing whether or not the characters, like, why she would or wouldn't succeed at any task in magic.
Right.
Right.
Well, and I feel like that kind of, like, when we see her start to have to work for it, especially like 10, 11, 12, and 13, we actually start to see her try.
Yeah.
Like, at the very last episode or 2-parter that we saw, it was really good because she had to work and she was trying to figure it out and wanted to make it happen. And it was like,
little steady improvement that she has, and she's doing the statue thing, and it's
made
better.
Sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And
yes,
you're actually giving us something to make it feel like she is moving forward and she's actually working towards this thing. So she has this more clear motivation of, oh, okay, she said she wants to do it, but now her actions are actually showing her try to do it. Right. And so that's interesting. There's still obviously a problem of no real antagonistic force in the first season. You could kind of say that, well, I mean, I don't know if you can even say that what Diana is the antagonistic force. Not really. There's not real, but at least she has something she's moving towards, and that made it a lot more interesting. And they have this kind of vague goal of finding whatever this magic word is. She's learned 2 at the end of the first season.
That was kind of the big question. Yeah. I think the big question was, who is the antagonist? Yeah. And I kind of got the feeling that maybe the anti-magic people, maybe they are.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the
maybe they're
anti-magic
not.
people. Who are the anti-magic people?
The first time they introduced male characters.
Oh, the rich
Are they? Are they not?
royal people, like the blue blood people or whatever. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, they're kind of vaguely antagonistic. They're not really, to my knowledge, like have a goal that conflicts with the magic.
They don't actively do anything.
Yeah,
they
suggest don't like them.
They suggest that they're kind of like, we are just doing this for appearances, but we're going to hurt the school or not help the school or something, but we don't actually get a clear picture of what their position is or what they can do or what they can't do.
There's no kind of consequences for anything, it feels like.
No, that was a huge thing. Yeah.
The consequences. No. Do we want to discuss consequences?
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Harry Potter for a moment. In Harry Potter, they're at a magic school, not unlike Little Witch Academia. And one of the struggles that the main characters have in Harry Potter is that the faculty in the school is going to find out about the stuff they're doing and they're going to get expelled or they're going to get in trouble or, something like that. It seems in Little Witch Academia, regardless of what they do, no matter what it is, there are either no consequences at all for cheating at races or cheating at things or doing weird things, using magic on other students, attempted murder, which is I think happens a couple times. Yeah. The worst thing they get is like a week of menial labor. Menial manual labor, like, oh, you got to clean up the whatever.
That sounds like about the value of a human life.
Yeah, just about. Those were some dirty brooms or whatever. Like, and it just the fact that there was no consequence, like, because I think that's a really obvious place to go for a little bit of conflict is the faculty, and they're going to get expelled, and she wants to be in magic, she wants to be like her, but a shining chariot, but if she gets expelled, that's going to be hard. And they just don't ever have consequences for anything.
Honestly, I think connecting it to comparing it to Harry Potter is probably a good point.
Yeah.
In Harry Potter,
it's similar. It's too similar to not.
If a character does something and he's a jerk to the protagonist, then what we're going to figure out is that, the protagonist can't report that character to the staff, because if he reports him to the staff, the protagonist will also get in trouble. Mm-hmm. In this, we don't end up really seeing anything where we understand why the protagonist isn't reporting the stuff that's happening. Is it just that they don't want to? Is it just that the bullying is going unreported, or what? Like in the case of the broom incident with the race, that was obvious. That was obvious who it was. The only people unaffected by cheating in the race were clearly going to be the culprits or some people with special brooms there.
And that's like there was and they didn't even talk about any possible consequences for this. She just like cheated, and it was like, I guess they didn't take off. It felt so completely, like there's no effect. You have no consequences for anything. And we will also get into
which I feel like doesn't support the foundation of the story. It doesn't.
Well, no. Yeah, I mean, it's first of all just weird because like you'd think if you cheated, like if you're cheating at like a school event, you'd think there'd be some kind of consequences. Now, one of the things about the thing with the cheating. Noah, do you have anything to say before I get on to
the only thing I think they needed to add to fix this was like one line of dialogue, a character being like, well, you see, because the school's under financial difficulties and they're from rich families, we can't afford to be punishing them. Like that would solve all of this.
That would solve a lot. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Just explain it. Just like a single line explain why this thing.
Yeah, but didn't matter. So with respect to some of those instances, for instance, the literal attempted murder of the protagonist and her friend by Susie. So Susie she's the friend who is a psychopath who literally tries to murder the main character and one of the other protagonists in the first episode, just because she wants a feather, she wants a cockatrice feather or something, and so she just tries to murder these two characters. That's okay though, because she didn't murder them. They survived, so now they're buds.
Not enough foreshadowing. They didn't foreshadow her murder at all.
Well, it was just like it was this thing. Like it was honestly, it was astonishing to me, because like she just meets these two characters, and she's like annoyed by them, and you're like, okay, yeah, she's annoyed by the main character. That's fair. Maybe they'll be friends. Maybe she'll be annoyed. Who knows? And then she just like they end up falling through the thing, and Susie tries to murder these two, and it's like, wow, hold on,
right?
You're a crazy person. And then they're all friends. And then she tries to murder her again. I don't remember.
And then in her dream, like the guillotine, and then the head coming off, and then we zoom in. Go ahead, Noah.
Mm-hmm.
The dream episode has so many issues. Okay, I'm going to paint you a picture. Imagine this in your mind's eye. There's an episode. It is in the head of one of the characters. This is clearly a standard thing. You put an episode in the character's brain so that you can do stuff that you can't do in a normal reality, right? You're like, this is an excuse for me as a writer to be able to flesh out a character, to say interesting messages. There's a lot of flexibility here, right? I can show so much about this character. And then we get in, and there are a few gags. There's a bunch of gags. And what we see, imagine this, there's a big courtroom. In the different parts of this character's personality are being brought to trial in this courtroom and immediately sentenced to death before they can speak in their own defense. Clearly, this character is suppressing and oppressing their own internal desires because of some like external force on the character. Maybe it's their family making them feel like they have to suppress who they want to be, or society or something. Like they're clearly being too harsh on themselves, right? We see these shackled bits of this character's personality all chained together, moving towards the top of a hill with a guillotine
literally moving.
Yes, to have their heads chopped off because they're not allowed to exist, right?
Dark imagery.
It's this dark imagery. We have these friggin' like Silent Hill looking executioners waiting for them. The protagonist says, "No, I won't stand for this." Freeze them. Then they turn into a giant monster, and it's explained to us, you see, people have to suppress who they are for society's greater good. What? That's the opposite of the message we were getting to this point. They flipped it.
Yeah, no. Interesting. Yeah. Very interesting. There were some things and this is, I think, this is the thing I think is a theme of the show, is there are little moments that I enjoyed. I think there are too many goofs. They have a lot of gags that are just... There were a couple in that episode. There were a couple of really good gags.
In the other two character development episodes, the one for Lotta Janssen and for... There's another character whose name I will find. And the other character whose name I didn't find. The skeleton guy, the undead skeleton. It feels like when they have to give character development, they're like, what if instead we have goofs? It's like that friend who, as soon as you ask him a personal question, he's like, I'm going to make a joke because I'm uncomfortable. That's what the writers are like.
No, and I agree with you on the messaging of that. The dream episode is very disjointed, incredibly disjointed. Actually, I think the messaging in the entire show is very disjointed. It seems like they don't know what they're trying to say, or they try to say something and then they go back and they just try to say, well, but it could also be the other thing.
I don't think we get a clear message up to the 10th episode.
Yeah.
And then we start feeling it.
We do get one clear message.
Oh, I know the message you're talking about, Noah.
Yes. There's a character. There's a character who is very minorly kind of husky, right? They're a little bit bigger than the other characters, right? Because, some people are a little bit husky, right?
Yeah.
And this character is involved in the broom race. And she is riding her broom along, and the protagonist tricks her by hanging donuts on strings,
that's all she can think
on
about.
Trees, to lead her off course. And because this character is minorly husky, not even fat, she's like it's like Yeah, she's not even that fat. She's not that fat. She's just a little husky. She, because of this added fat, is incapable of maintaining focus on anything other than food, and so is easily distracted and tricked by the more clever and skinnier character.
Yes. So this is a recurring message, I think, over a bunch of episodes where it's like, yeah, that character, they're just fat and dumb. But they're not fat. They're just like, they're kind of slightly heavier than the other characters, but they're dumb and all they can think of is food.
Like, I don't, like, if I had kids, I would be like, sure, you can play X-rated games and watch X-rated movies, but this shit, I'd be like,
no.
Don't fucking watch this shit.
You will feel bad about yourself after this. Yeah. But yeah, no, I 100% agree. It is.
I do not want my kids getting this in their heads.
No. Yeah, no, that was a weird, like, recurring thing that kept happening, and I was like, why are you beating up on that character? Like, I mean, I eat chips now and again. Come on.
She's not that
she's
fat.
Not. Yeah, she's not. It's not like she's a huge lumbering fat character.
And almost
she's
every
like
time
average.
they show her, she has got some kind
she's
of
just like
food in her
eating
hand.
chips. Yeah, distracted by doing the sun strings. That was a weird thing that they just decided to do. But yeah. So a lot of problems with the first half of the season, or the first 3/4 of the season. Character motivation, weird mixed messaging, some tropes that were like the fat person thing. That was a little bit much.
I will say, someone in chat is mentioning that there's always that friend who eats everything, but I will say that oftentimes that friend is incredibly thin, and everyone notices it because they're like, how do you eat that much?
Yeah.
You're like a twig.
No,
You're tiny.
That is
the person who eats everything is not very often the fat person.
That is my life experience too. Is I will, the people that I see that are eating all the time are skinny as hell. Don't know how it happens. Just that's how they are. But yeah, so a lot of problems with the first 3/4 of the series.
I will mention. I do like that there are a couple of characters at least, who have slightly different skin colors and who are of different heights. Yeah. Because I do think that it is a fairly common thing in anime to depict all the characters as being similar, like the same height, the same skin color, very similar looking characters who are distinguished by a few minor details. I think the characters in this show are fairly distinct in their facial features, and having a few that have different skin colors, just slightly off, and different heights, I think is cool.
So that's good to see. That is the thing that I actually thought was great. Yeah, go ahead, Mandy.
I just think it adds a dimension to it. It gives you more layers, and I like that.
Makes it feel more authentic, I would say.
Yeah.
You got to get that verisimilitude. Thank you,
Noah. That was no, this is the thing that was actually great in the show, is the diversity in the character design. And I don't mean that the way that I mean that is that a lot of anime, a lot of animated things have characters that are kind of a body template, female body template. Maybe their height is increased, maybe the height is decreased, and their hair is different, and their eye color is different, and they look exactly the same, and you distinguish them by how their hair looks. That's fair. It's hard to do a lot of different body types. It takes a lot more work. So Little Witch Academia has a huge variety of different like faces, and you look at them and they're not templates. They all have different noses, different head shapes. They have different like hip and shoulder ratios. They have different heights. They have different like limb thicknesses. They have different they're all look different. Their hair looks different. They have different sized faces and eyes, and there's a huge diversity of different like body types in it.
I also want to say that I loved how they tracked through Shiny Chariot. Mm-hmm. And how she forgets her glasses before she answers the door and is like, oh. And she goes back to get them. And so like I like that little nuance of her having the glasses and then her forgetting them and then going to it and getting them.
I will also
That was
establish
very good.
I will also establish that this occurred after episode 9, which
Yes.
was the turning point in the series becoming good.
Yes.
Also, may I just say, episode 10, back to episode 10,
The B one.
suddenly the protagonist has a clear motivation and a goal that they're working towards, like very immediately. It's not like a random thing happens to her that she's suddenly in a situation. It is that she has a clear goal she's working towards, and as soon as the party starts, we are getting all the characters being developed.
Yes.
Every character there is being developed. We get more character development in episode 10 than we get in episodes 1 through 9 all together.
Yeah. Now, to be also very clear, I think that episodes 1 through 9, not very good. There are good moments, there are good aspects, but generally overall not very good. Episodes 10 through 13 still have a lot wrong with them. They still have a lack of an antagonist. They still have a relatively undirected story, but a lot of good stuff starts happening. You get, again, the main character has, she really gets into what her motivation is and starts driving towards it herself, which starts driving the story. Like that's the entire, like her motivation driving her into this through the story. Huge improvement. The characters start actually developing. You start getting bits of, change in the characters. You actually start they start putting down plot elements like the words and how some of the magic stuff works, and just things that are just incredibly important.
As you mentioned earlier, we start seeing actual development of the protagonist's magical ability. It stops being a binary on-off switch, like she fails completely or succeeds completely. It becomes she almost succeeds. She starts working and studying towards success, which is
and you're,
like My Hero Academia. That's good to see, visually see how the character is evolving and changing.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to kind of understand what the character's limitations are and where they are, so that when some kind of action is happening, I can kind of see that, oh, okay, she might be able to do this, or I don't know, she's gonna be able to do this. Whereas before it's like, I don't know, can she do it? Maybe she just super succeed or super fail. That's all she does. So I don't know. Will she? Maybe. 50-50 roll, flip a coin. Go ahead now.
Admittedly, that is when she uses magic. But one instance where she doesn't use magic, that she probably should have used magic.
Oh, yeah.
There's a guy named Andrew Hanbridge who shows up at the school and starts walking about, and he bumps into her, and he's like, you got bunny ears, so I think you're more interesting than other witches. And then she gives him bat ears, and he's like, oh, darn, I guess we're going to travel together for a while.
Right?
They do
join the party.
Until they encounter a giant, astral polar bear. I'm going to call it an astral polar bear.
Astral polar bear is fair.
It's got a star in its head. That makes it astral.
I'll allow it.
Allow it, yeah. Okay. So they're getting chased by this astral polar bear, and the protagonist climbs to safety. And then Andrew Hanbridge falls behind, and he's on the ground, and the polar bear's got him trapped, and he can't reach a place to escape. And in this episode, twice before, we've seen the protagonist try to use transformation magic and fail. And then she tried to use transformation magic and she failed. And now, Andrew Hanbridge, his life is on the line. He's going to be eaten by an astral polar bear. And this is her time to shine, to stand up and use transformation magic. And then a few seconds pass, and Andrew Hanbridge jumps over the polar bear like a boss, gets up to the ledge where the protagonist is, and she is still sitting on her butt like she was 5-7 seconds ago, not doing anything. They set us up to expect her to save him there.
Yeah. Yes.
But it wasn't like they set us up to give us a twist. It was like they set us up, and they're not okay. That dropped the ball.
Is she gonna do it? No, she's not actually even going to attempt to do it.
Exactly.
She thought about it though. The thought crossed her mind.
He thought hard.
Yeah. So, just like there's some weird structural stuff like that. Like I don't know why. I don't know if they had planned on it or there was a miscommunication somewhere. But afterwards, after she, didn't do anything and sat on her butt waiting for him to be devoured by the astral polar bear, they're buds still.
It's the rule of threes. That's when she's supposed to use it the third time, and it works.
And it works. Nope.
Because it needs to work.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a weird setup and, no conclusion there. Yeah.
Also, a lack of verisimilitude, because how did he pull off that jump in a suit? You can't even lift your arms in suit.
No.
It was fitted, Noah. It was fitted.
Sorry. I'm dumb. I didn't think about that.
It's okay. Next time, you'll know if someone jumps over a astral polar bear in a suit.
It means they have a fitted suit.
Mm-hmm. They have a fitted suit. You gotta, but yeah. So a lot of weird stuff going on. I mean, overall. So I feel like the way we felt about the show overall is that, wow, the first bit sucked, and the very last bit, the 4 episodes, what a enormous improvement and interesting to the point, because we all really wanted to like this show, because it's charming and it's Halloween, right? It's October. It's witches and magic and stuff, and that's fun. We were sitting, wanting to like it a lot. And just a lot of problems with the show. And so the improvement in the last 3 or 4 episodes was great enough to merit watching the second season. So next week we are going to watch the second season, or we're going to discuss the second season. We'll watch the second season this week because of how much it improved in the last 3 or 4 episodes. Hopefully they'll have their footing. Go ahead, Noah.
To better express the contrast between the first 9 episodes and the last 4 episodes, allow me to convey that by episode 9, the conversation we were having had taken a greater priority than watching the show. We were far more invested in our own conversation than the show. And then episode 10 happened, and we all just started watching it
again. Yeah. And then I think,
before we knew it, no one was talking.
Yeah, no one was talking, and we were like, wait, hold on. Yeah, or just watching it, just enjoying the show and being like, wow. Oh, that makes a lot more sense with the words and the, huge improvement. Just really,
it was stark.
It was very stark. So it's an interesting mixed kind of review of the first season. Because I certainly, halfway through the first season was like, I'm not going to watch the rest of this. I'm not going to watch season 2. I don't care. It's not interesting. Mandy was sad because she had watched the OVAs, and the OVAs she said were really good. And we started watching this, and everybody was like, wow, oof.
Right.
So I don't know. It's they say a lot of shows take a few episodes to really come into themselves and to get going and to get good. Over 75% of the first season is maybe a little bit much for getting your footing, but they seemingly are getting their footing. And gosh, I'd love to have a fun witch show again. I think there's a lot of really great elements in the show. I think the main character group has a lot of potential to be like fun and interesting. I think as long as Susie doesn't try to murder anybody again.
I think
we get some more development on that because,
I think they largely wasted the Susie and Lota development episodes. They were because they each of those characters had an episode fully devoted towards developing them. I think they did better with Lota Johnson.
It's hard to do worse than Susie though. No, let's be like that was. Yeah. So
great.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing: if somebody tries to murder me, I'm not going to be their friend, even if they didn't. It was not really personal.
To be fair, the protagonist also nearly murdered one of the professors.
Yeah, that's fair. So that was just straight up an accident. Yeah.
They have something they share now. They've each tried to murder other people.
Yeah. Well, so the protagonist, Akko.
Yeah.
She wasn't intentionally trying to murder the professor. She just
No,
happened to. It's the professor. The professor's a fish, and she happened to pick up the professor. Oh, she dumped a bunch of
law doesn't
water.
apply if it's because you're incompetent.
Yeah, it's true.
Violated.
It's true. And she threw her in a drain, and
that's how a court
went to
works.
Go save her. Yeah, that's how courts work. If it was an accident, it doesn't matter. Actually, no. That's actually intent is actually incredibly important, according to the law. So. So Akko, she'd be great. Susie, on the other hand, she going to jail. That was very intentional.
It seemed so forced that she would stay friends with her.
Yeah. No, it's one of those things where, like, okay, I get the shtick, right? She's this kind of emotionless, little bit apathetic character that's kind of, goth, dark, has lots of, I get the shtick, but you took it too far. Like,
I would say Susie is, Susie reminds me of Raven from Teen Titans.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely.
I feel like I want to like Susie.
Yeah.
Right.
But I feel like they just didn't develop her. They kept just being like, okay, what do we do with Susie? Have her mention mushrooms.
She loves mushrooms. She fucking loves mushrooms.
Character humor doesn't work if the character isn't developed.
No, it's true. And it's like that can't be her only shtick, is that she likes mushrooms. And she doesn't mind, a little bit of casual murder. Now, with respect to that, I honestly think that, like, I get what they're going for with the character. Like, I get it. Apathetic, kind of cold, and I think it'd be completely great to have it so the other characters aren't quite sure if she would murder them. Like, they maybe have that, like, oh yeah, we love Susie, except she a little bit can be kind of scary, but then deep down she would never do that.
Here's the thing,
she maybe has an episode about how she would never do that, but she is kind of weird and apathetic. Go ahead, Noah.
The Susie character development episode, before they flip the messaging, was actually looking like it was going to be really interesting.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I agree.
And I think
the idea,
great imagery, a lot of interest, like the line of people up to the guillotine on the cliff.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, dark.
I
was into that. I was like, wow, that's a great image.
Yeah, they were conveying, like, the reason she behaves the way she is because she's suppressing all these like temptations that all the other characters are just letting out.
Yeah.
But then they flip the messaging to be she's doing it for the good of society. None of the other fucking characters are doing this for the good of society.
The end of that episode was, I don't know, it was just weird. I mean,
like, it felt like It felt like one writer had written half of it, storyboarded the rest, and then someone else got a hold of it and was like, oh, we need to change the second half to convey the morals we want to instill into children.
Yeah. No, there was a goof in that I loved, which was how the angel and the demon appear, and the demon's
I like that.
The demon's like, oh, you should. Oh God, I can't. What was it? The demon
says
something like,
we need to kill her.
Yeah, murder. And then the other person, the angel was like, no, we can't do that. We should kill her. We should, basically euthanize her very peacefully and without pain.
Not with such a barbaric weapon.
Yeah, no, yeah, that was a good goof. That was a good goof. But yeah, it was too far. Like, the trying to murder the other two protagonists in the first.
I think there were multiple people involved in the creation of the episode, and that two or more of them did not have any goddamn idea what the other was doing.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think it was very disjointed, very, very disjointed.
There was definitely at least some tampering by, like, higher up people after the episode was written, in the form of the guillotine, when we zoomed in on it, was chopping some sort of vegetable, like a radish, maybe. I don't know.
And they were just standing in line; they weren't moving.
Yeah. And I get the. Yeah, like, I get why they did that. It's like, okay, maybe that's a little too much. They zoom in and they're just cutting fruit or whatever.
Maybe it's too much, but later that monster of her starts eating herself.
Yeah, I know.
So,
right?
I mean, so people were dying anyway. I mean, not really.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Okay. Now, this is going to be a slight tangent, but I think it's important to address.
Okay. Oh, boy.
So, At the beginning of that episode, there are tiny radish people. We'll call them radish people. And they're carrying a sword and a shield. And the protagonist is like, hey, little radish people. And then they run off. And they don't really serve a function in the story. And they drop their sword and shield behind. And we don't really know why the sword and shield is here in Susie's head. And then at the end, the protagonist magically, like, somehow has the sword and shield again that she never picked up. And it's like, why is that? And may I also say, in the first episode, when the tiny stuffed animal is animated and it pokes her in the nose, her eye is hurt. Her eyeball, not her nose.
Yeah.
I am disappointed. Inconsistencies. Inconsistencies.
So, yeah.
And a lot of still frames.
Yeah. No, that's fair. A lot of still frames.
But a lot of inconsistencies.
Before we realized what had happened, we had ended up starting the episode 1 of the second season, and the intro way better for the second season. Really pretty good intro to the second season. So we haven't watched that episode. We stopped it because we were like, oh wow, this intro is really good, and then we looked at the episode and it was like, oh, second season. But yeah, interesting. Definitely gonna watch that. I'm excited, and that's again what we're gonna be discussing next weekend, next Saturday, the 20th of October, because Halloween. This is Halloween. This is Halloween.
Okay. Halloween.
We won't start that, but I'm excited about in the last three or four episodes they started picking up more of the side characters to have in conversations that they didn't have in the first part of the show. We get like the flying ace girl, the fat girl's there too that can only think about food.
She's not that fat.
Yeah, exactly, but that's how we're gonna remember her. That's because of the way they're treating her. How wrong. The Gizmos girl, who the gadgets girl, that was weird when she like first showed up, because it was like the dragon episode, and then there was just like this one chick who has like a rifle.
She showed up in the broom race.
She showed up in the broom race. That's fair. Oh yeah, she had like a.
There was a couple of times she showed up, but then nothing.
And then all of a sudden they're like chasing dragons, and she has an RPG, and it's like, what the is this? Who's that?
She's the best witch.
Yeah, she's obviously the best witch. Because we're gonna watch the second season, I'm not gonna do a best girl personally for this because we haven't watched the second season.
I'm cool with that.
But yeah, I'm glad that later on they start picking up more of the characters, just sitting in a conversation, just like being part of the group, because that's how you get interesting character development, is just having characters there to put in their 2 cents. So I'm glad they started picking them up. Characters start having goals, which is crazy. It's interesting to the story. No, we were going to have I think you were wanting to talk briefly about effective versus ineffective story devices. Is that what you were going to say? I had that written.
I think you rephrased that in a more intelligent way than I initially stated it. So
that's what I'm here for.
No, I do not remember what led me to that.
But there definitely there are a lot of ineffective story devices. There are, a few effective story devices. I
felt like the whole tone of this show was confusing too.
Yeah.
Up until the last 4. Like, I didn't get a good sense of what they were going for tonal wise.
Right, yeah. And this is the thing that I think we were talking about with the wacky, like vaguely Looney Tunes kind of like slapstickiness of the show. Like that, the art doesn't really suit it for that kind of tone. The plot doesn't really suit it for that tone, because it's kind of an underdog / hopeful, inspiring story, and the slapstickiness of it doesn't really fit. But there was a lot of like slapsticky stuff that just kind of there's just kind of discontinuity between what the tone of the story is and what the tone of like the way they're telling the story was. But yeah.
Just a couple other things that I noticed we hadn't really talked about: music.
Yeah.
And
I think
the voice acting.
Yeah. The music I thought was all right. Some of the songs were kind of catchy. Some of the songs were relatively forgettable.
It didn't stick with me enough for me to be like, oh yeah, there was a moment. There was the moment. There was one moment.
Hum it.
Yeah, I can't remember the music. It was kind of there, and it affected my experience, but not. I don't remember it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it wasn't.
It's forgettable.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think when you're talking about music and how catchy it is and stuff, you get stuff all the way from like, this is like, yeah, it's very forgettable, to things like My Hero, which has some really fabulous music, to things like Cowboy Bebop, which has some of the most memorable. Like, I will never forget. No one, like, that is such a memorable song. Also, it's an actual song called Tank.
The intro to Baccano.
Because we watched like 2 episodes of that. It did have a really. I remember the music being big, and I don't remember.
We watched 4 episodes.
Oh god, that was like 5 years ago. No. But the music in Little Witch Academia,
I thought the second season song got me too.
Also, I agree. I think the second season.
Like, I was like, ooh,
that it was a lot. It was a lot more interesting. Yeah, I think they're. I don't know what happened. You know, a pixie sprinkled some dust on their careers or something. I don't know, on the show. It happened. It got much better. Pretty much every aspect of the show got a lot better nearing the end of the show. But yeah, no, it was interesting. It was very interesting. I hope to see in the second season, and I don't know, I haven't watched it again. None of us have seen it. In the second season, I really hope to see really well-defined goals for the protagonists that are going to come into conflict with some antagonists. Somebody. Ooh, the computer's doing a weird thing. I hope it is good. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead now.
I hope to see consistent character development on an episode by episode basis.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That would be great. But I want to see an antagonist, an actual antagonist who has a specific goal, and that goal runs contrary to what the protagonist's goals are. And
I would like to see.
That's going to create conflict.
I would like to see an overarching narrative.
Yeah,
yes.
A seasonal antagonist, an antagonist that has their goals over the course of the season. It's a grander arc that come into conflict with the main characters. So you have a big overarching story, a big overarching conflict. Yes, that would be great. I got, it's funny because I have a lot of hope for it. And I think that's the reason that there's a lot to say about the show, is because of the contrast between the beginning and the end of what we've seen of it so far. And I think there's a lot of potential in it. And I do have a lot of hope for it just because of the improvement it made. Mandy, what is something you want to see in the second season here?
I want to see the continuation of the last 4 episodes. I want to see that heightened, even just a tiny bit more. I felt like it was still really good, but I think the introduction of an antagonist will add that without them having to do much to the characters, Yeah. So I think that I want to see that. I want to see stronger devices. I want to see a track through. So like when we had the little gadget girl, like I want to see that track somehow.
Yeah.
Like, who are they? If you introduce the character, at least show me why they're not there anymore.
Yeah.
Like, okay, they went away. That's fine, but not just poof, they're gone, poof, they're here, poof, they're
I
gone.
would like to see consistency in messaging. The message they're conveying visually is the same one that they're stating explicitly. The implied message is the same as the one that they're like, maybe
an overall just consistency of messaging in individual episodes, a consistency of like theme in individual episodes, even just so this is the shtick for this episode, and everybody's dealing with this kind of problem, and everybody's gonna have this to deal with, and we're gonna examine an issue, in a way, and not have weird messages about this and this and this and go off on different tangents that conflict with each other. Yeah, a little consistency in that would be great. But we are a minute over. We are excited to see the second season. So Noah, any last thoughts on the season 1 Little Witch Academia before we go?
Just don't watch the first 9 episodes.
Yes, actually, you should read if you want to pitch this to your friends, give them a synopsis of the first nine episodes and start them on episode 10.
Yes.
Nice hair, by the way. Mandy, final thoughts.
Same. Like, give a synopsis of the first 9 episodes. 10 is solid. I really enjoyed the last bit. So
if we hadn't been like going to do a review and like a critique of it, I would have stopped after 5 or 6. Like, I wouldn't have gotten like, not a chance. I'd have watched to 5 or 6, maybe 7. I'd have been like, "Yep, that's it. I'm done. This is garbage."
It's like Baccano. With Baccano, you stop watching after the train arc. You just ignore those 9 episodes. With this, it's the first 9 episodes that you ignore. You just push them aside. They aren't there. They didn't happen.
Yep. But we look forward to discussing it in more detail this coming weekend. That's again Saturday, the 20th of October. Yep. Saturday, the 20th of October at 5 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We look forward to seeing you then and talking to you then. And if you want to come and join us, we will be here. Have a good night, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye.